doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you again. I'm Oliver Perret. I'm the principal here at Williamson Elementary.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see you back. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We're excited to start the school year off, and I'm glad you were able to come in the week before so that we can kind of just get an idea of your role here on campus. Because I do know that we're hiring you on as the special education resource teacher.
Right.
So let me go ahead and just jump in a little bit into what our vision and mission statement are at school. We are very big on academics here. Everything that we do is kind of just to push student achievement. So we aligned our vision and mission statement to be able to support that. So our vision here at Williamson Elementary School is to provide a safe, orderly environment which is conducive to learning and to provide an integrated, diverse, quality education to all students, enabling them to become productive, competitive citizens globally. So basically, although we do focus on academics, we want our students to be able to function in society. So we're pushing academics and we're pushing the social emotional learning aspect as well. So we want our students to be able to just function in society, whether it be to handle emotions or any academic aspect as well. Just give them those critical thinking skills to be able to process information in the world. Our mission is to ensure that each student will have an opportunity to become a productive asset to our society. We further seek to provide an environment of high expectations, quality instruction, academic achievement, and enjoyment for learning. So, like I said, we are very big on academics. So we have high expectations of our teachers and students. And that's why there's such a push for quality instruction. As you'll learn as you go through PDs this coming week, we do have things like the Fundamental 5 that is a district policy that we implement. And it's just a program that was brought in to be able to raise student achievement because there is empirical evidence behind it that show that student achievement was attained through this process. We have balanced literacy frameworks that we have to follow. We screen our students at least 3 times a year. We do have monthly checkpoints as well, just because we want to make sure we're keeping up with data and using that to kind of drive instruction and just help provide those interventions to students based off where they are academically. So before I actually jump into the academic side of it, do you have any questions for me?
Just what exactly is the Fundamental 5?
So the Fundamental 5, again, it's five different things. So one of them is purposeful talk. And so, again, so that ties back to our mission. We want an enjoyment for learning. We want students to come to school and leave happy. We want them to be excited. So purposeful talk, what that does, it allows collaboration amongst the students. We want students to talk to each other. And it's great to just gain different perspectives, to get students to view the viewpoints of another. And, sometimes, as you've probably learned through your alternative certification program, that some students learn better from other students than from teachers.
Can I get all custodial staff to the gym, please? All custodial staff to the gym.
And that's actually one of our teachers here on campus. So they're getting together. We have something like the Boys Club that ties back to our mission, our enjoyment of learning. So as I was saying, the purposeful talk is it's just to get students to collaborate. We want them to talk, but we want it to have a purpose behind it. Another aspect of it is critical writing. We have something called Write It Down Wednesday that we just implemented, that at 9 o'clock from 9 to 9:15, everyone drops what they're doing and we write. So our campus instructional coaches, they'll send out a prompt and we'll get students writing. And that helps tie in that critical writing aspect as well. We have recognizing and reinforcing. So we want to praise students, and not only do we want to praise them, we want it to be specific to them. So instead of just saying, good job on the question, Mary, we want to say, great job at following the correct order of operations when solving the problem, Mary. So just make sure it's specific. And that whole reinforcing, we're big on positive reinforcement. We don't like to shed too much light on negative behavior. So what we do is we call attention to those students who are performing well academically or socially. And so by calling attention to that, it kind of diminishes those negative behaviors that you can see in the classroom. Another of those is framing the lesson. So every day before you start a lesson, you start with your we will and I will. So what your we will is, it's basically the teach that you'll be teaching. And so we will learn the process for dividing decimals, for example. And then your I will, it ties into that TEAC, but it's the specific independent activity that your students are doing. So, for example, if they're doing, the we will say that they're going to learn the process for dividing fractions, the I will be, I will complete a foldable in my math journal using a dividing fraction task card or something. It's just a specific completion of the activity. I forgot. The last one that we focus on is the power zone. So that's basically moving around the classroom, redirecting behavior, not through verbal language, but through nonverbal, where you're walking around. If we realize that if you're close proximity to a student, that they're more likely to be on task than if you're just standing at the front. And of course, that's a great way too to navigate and kind of just see what's happening in the room, what kind of questions your students are having, what kind of issues they're having, misunderstandings, misconceptions. So that's all falls under the power zone. So that's the fundamental 5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because we implemented a mentorship program on campus. So for example, you'll be with Ms. Sanchez. She's been the resource teacher for 8 years now. And so you'll kind of be reporting to her. She'll be checking in with you and just kind of just helping you become acclimated to our school, our procedures, our routines that we have here on campus through her experience. So you'll be working alongside with her. And then again, since you are both our 2 special education resource teachers on campus, you will be working hand in hand together. So it's a great person to be paired with. Besides that, we have new teacher cohorts. So once a month, every new teacher will meet in the library. And myself and the campus instructional coaches will be in there just seeing what kind of issues our new teachers have discovered on the first day of teaching, the first week, first month. And then we'll just keep going as the year progresses. And so let's say maybe mid-March, one of the teachers realizes they're starting to have behavior issues in classes, where our new cohort training will be over classroom management. So we have that, and of course you have myself. I will be a resource to you. Anything that you need, feel free to reach out. You'll get to meet them later today, but it's Ms. Puga, Ms. Booker, Ms. Coffey, and Mr. Johnson. So they're available for anything. They each work with different grade levels. So I know you are for first through kinder through 3rd grade. So you'll be working more with Ms. Puga and Ms. Booker. And again, I'll let you meet them later on today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of just give you a quick tour of the school so that you can kind of become familiarized with where everything is at and what kind of activities happen in each of the areas.
Okay, great.
This is our green hallway. So here's where you'll be located, our special education resource classes. So down here at the end of a hall, this is where our campus instructional coaches are. And so luckily you're diagonally down from them. So any questions you have, just feel free to come over and ask them. Right here we have our encounters class. So Miss Reed is over it. And so what it is, it's the top 5% of students in the district. They come here and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we actually are available to 12 other elementary schools. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have 4 different elementaries that send basically their top 5% to come and work with Miss Reed. And they'll be doing just enrichment projects and just using higher order thinking and just questions to keep enriching their students since they already are so high. Okay, and so down this hallway too, this is where 3rd grade is at. So you'll see right here outside of your classroom, this is your special education resource class. So this is where you and Miss Farley will be. Here, you'll be able to bring students in. You'll work with them. You can do your small group here, or so you'll be pushing into classes. But whenever you do have to provide the resource time for students, you'll do it here in your classroom. So the rest of this hallway here is 3rd grade, like I said. And so the 3rd grade students that you do service, you will just be able to get them and then bring them back to the classroom.
That's perfect.
All right. Positive. So this is our yellow hallway here. This is where our pre-K and our kinder classes are located at. So down here at the end of the hall, we have our 2 pre-K classes that we offer. We offer our AM and PM classes, and one of those is bilingual. So any students that qualify to be in bilingual pre-K, they come here to our campus. So that goes for the entire district. Any student that is bilingual pre-K comes here. We also have our PPCD program down here. So any students that aren't eligible to be in PPCD, they are serviced here towards the end of the hall, right next to the pre-K classes. And then down here we have our kinder as well. And our kinder consists of 5 different teachers. Do you have any questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and move on. All right, so this here is actually our data room. So our data room, like I said, since we are so big on student achievement, we went ahead and we broke everything down just so that we can visualize where our students are. And because a lot of the time it's different to see it on paper than to see it actually implemented and used. So these are our goals actually. So we are at 85% approaches. That's our goal for all grade levels, the whole campus really. 50% meets and 20% masters. So whenever we get back to my office, we're actually going to dive into the academics and kind of where our school was placed last year. So this will kind of all make a little bit more sense in a second. So again, so students who are approaches, so let's use 5th grade for example. If for mathematics, in order to get approaches, you only need 47%.
Oh.
In order to get meets, that's 75%. And in order to get masters, you only need an 88. So what this is approaches is that students aren't technically on grade level, but they're close to it. So that means they're approaching the grade level. So if a 5th grader scores here, they're not on 5th grade level, that means they're approaching 5th grade level. So technically they still fall under 4th grade skill set. Meets, that means our student is on grade level. So if they make at least at 75, like I had said, that means that they are at the 5th grade level if they score on an assessment. Masters means that they're excelling in 5th grade academic level. Okay, and so we follow this for all subject areas. So if you look on here, this is our math wall on this side here. We have our 2nd grade group here, our 3rd grade, our 4th grade, and our 5th grade. So the purpose of this is we use this room for planning.
Oh.
So whenever you're going to be meeting with the grade level that you serve, so like we said, K through 3rd, you're going to be in here, and whenever they have lesson planning, you're going to be in here, and you just bring any resource that you have, any accommodations, any ideas that you just have to better modify assignments for our SPED students. You'll be working in here, and so the goal of this was, as teachers plan, they can kind of see the data, how it's unfolding, and they're going to use the data that's up on the wall for their specific grade or subject area to implement their instruction and to just figure out maybe what type of teaks we need to go back and reteach, what type of scaffolding we need to do.
So, sorry, the red is for...
So the red is not listed on here because we do not want that to be a goal. So red means did not meet grade level. So for example, for the approaches for the 5th grade, like I said, any student who scored 56 or below will be on red, did not meet. So that's basically, you're just not on grade level. You're not approaching it, you're not on it, you're not excelling, you're just not on grade level. And so of course, when we have our goals up, that's the reason we leave out the red, because we don't really want students seeing that as a goal. Our goal is to not have any students on red.
Okay.
So the purpose of this is every time we take an assessment, teachers will get a small, it's kind of like a sticker, and they'll stick it on wherever their student scores. So for example, let's say that student I used earlier, Mary. So Mary took her assessment in mathematics for 2nd grade. Well, if she scored meets, she would be here. We'd stick her name here.
Oh, okay.
If approaches, we'd stick it here. Did not meet, we would stick it here. So the goal is, as we're planning, we want to be able to look up and be able to see how the data reflects it and if our plans accurately reflect the needs of our students. So this is broken down, again, this is all math, and then here's our reading side. So for reading, it's the same thing. For any checkpoints, assessments that we're doing, teachers will come in here and they'll put the students' individual names up. Now the important thing to remember here is that this should be done after each assessment. So for example, if you assess on Thursday, you have 2 school days to come up and have your students located here, because we want it to be up to date all the time. Right. And so our reading is here, and then our writing is located here. So of course our students, depending on where they score in writing, we do have them listed out here.
I've actually met some of these teachers, and these look like all 4th grade teachers.
Yes, so this is only focused on 4th grade because it's the only grade level that takes a STAR writing exam.
Oh, okay.
So since we are so big on student achievement, we do teachers have this individually in their classrooms. But as far as for actually planning purposes, we went ahead and just put our writing for our 4th grade, since they're the only ones who take STAR. This is just better to monitor the data. And again, so it's if I come in, if a district employee or a specialist comes in, if our superintendent comes in, they're able just to look and kind of see where we're at as a school just by seeing how many students are in red, yellow, green, or blue. Okay? And then we also take our TELPAS assessments. So again, that's broken down by beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. So our goal is to have as much students as we can on advanced high. So this is kind of arranged a little bit differently. So all second grade students who are beginning will go here. And so it goes all the way across second grade.
Oh, okay.
Third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade.
Okay.
So our population actually is very low for our bilingual students. So we actually only have one class per grade level that services bilingual students, and we do have the dual language program here. So their goal is to make sure that our students are improving each year. So if a student entered in second grade and they were at beginning, their goal for third grade should be to at least be at intermediate. And so by the time they're in fifth grade, we're hoping they're advanced high and exiting the program.
Okay. How many, what are the class sizes for the bilingual program?
So our class sizes are actually pretty small. They usually range between 10 to 16 students.
Wow.
So yeah, and so that's very different compared to our general ed classes that usually range between 18 to 23 students. Here's our beginning of the year screeners. So this is just mostly for kindergarten and first grade. So it's just our, this is what we'll be doing fast. So you have a beginning of the year, that's the BOY. You have the middle of the year and end of the year. So what this is whenever they take their screeners, again, their names go placed on here. So the goal is, depending on where the student scored here, the teacher will set individualized goals. And so let's say if Little Mary again, she scored for the beginning of the year, she was in yellow. So she was at approaches. Well, her goal next time around would be to be on green whenever we do it, the middle of the year screener.
Okay.
And so we only have K through first here because they are the ones that focus the most on our BAS, with our BAS program.
Is there a section for advanced kinder and first?
Yes, so there is an advanced section. However, so we kind of ran out of space for that. But what we did is we had a separate board up at the front that we allow for our advanced high students to be placed upon. Here again, data. So this is over teacher data. So our attendance here. So we do have a district policy that says that we require our employees to be here at least 97% of our school days. So that basically means you cannot miss more than 6 days. So in order to kind of keep track of our teachers and help them understand where they're at, we went ahead and implemented this attendance board. So your name will go down here. Here are all our teacher names. And so far all of these teachers are at 100%. They've been here every day. So for example, when this teacher left at the end of last year, her average was 97%. Now, I'm sorry, the grade level average. So all she's a kinder teacher, they were all at 97%. Well, she fell a little bit short at 95%. So this did affect her T-test rating. So, Domain 4 deals with attendance. So because she did not reach our district's goal, she was seen as a developing teacher because she needed to kind of be put on a growth plan in order to meet our attendance goals. All right, and then so here we have again some more math. So this covers kindergarten through 5th grade here. So any checkpoint, any screener, any other smaller assessment that you might do in your class, as long as it's for the whole grade level, we just list them out here. So for example, this teacher here, they had their RTI beginning of the year assessment. They had their campus checkpoint 1. And so they have stickers on top, so yellow, green, and blue. So this is where each of her students scored for those assessments. And so again, you just list that data, and this is just for math. Here we have reading. So every time, again, when they take an assessment regarding reading, ELA, they're gonna fill it out here. So this could be anything from iStation, screeners, checkpoints, district assessments, our baskets too. A lot of the time if our information doesn't really fit there, we kind of want to see it more concrete, we're okay with teachers just filling it out here. Because it is much easier to come up here and just kind of see where that teacher is for the entire class versus just each individualized student. And so, again, so this room, this is where we come in, this is where we do our lesson planning. Everything that we do here is for our students. So we want to make sure we know where our students are at each time in order to better meet their needs.
How long and how often do you require lesson planning?
So our lesson plans, depending on subjects. So for math and science, they meet every Tuesday, and ELA will meet every Wednesday. So you meet once a week. Now, since you are a SPED teacher, you will have to meet Tuesdays and Wednesdays because you want to be able to provide accommodations for both subject areas. And of course, we're going to need your expertise then to ensure that we're accommodating, modifying it to meet the students' individualized plans. So our goal is to each week you're planning, you're actually 2 weeks ahead.
Oh, okay.
So when we get into it next week, back when we have the entire staff back on campus, what we'll do is we'll set a day, or actually two, where we're going to try to get at least 1 month worth of lesson plans completed.
Wow.
Yeah, and so once we complete those, you're working for the following week.
So while we're in school, are we expected to meet after school or before school? Or are we supposed to meet during planning? When exactly is it scheduled?
So it is scheduled. It's every Tuesday or Wednesday during your conference. Kinder and third during their conference times every Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is, of course, your time is from 7:30 to 3:30. However, if we do have any extra job duties, or we have maybe PD in the library, or if plans aren't done for the second week as we're planning ahead 2 weeks in advance, we do require our teachers to stay because, of course, we still are salary. So we want to make sure that we're on campus until we've completed all of our assignments, basically. All right, so here we have one of our 2 labs. This is our Freedom Lab. So in our Freedom Lab, you will get 1 week where you can, 1 day a week where you can bring your students in. And so they'll send out an email within 1 or 2 weeks, and that'll be Mr. Tiffin. He's our technology specialist on campus. So you're able to register for a time. And maybe if you want to pull any students out to work in the lab during that time, of course, we do offer iReady for math, iStation for reading, and of course, many of the books and interactive resources that we do have available through our online programs that you can just pull your students out and complete those assignments.
Okay.
Down here is our SLC. So all of our students who are on PBCD SLC, this is kind of where they'll play, and we do have these little gates here to kind of close this area off. We want to make sure these students are safe and that they're always accounted for. So there are always at least 2 or 3 teachers working with those students at the time. And so all of our students here have specialized activities, games, equipment, and just different types of resources that they can use. All right, so let's go ahead and turn down this.
I'm so sorry.
This first classroom here to the left, that is our PASS classroom. So what PASS is, it's basically for any students who have behavioral issues that have a plan in the system. They are 504. So what we'll do is anytime they kind of just need to decompress or those students are having a bad day, Mr. Cass is over the PASS program. So you can rather send the students here if they're having a bad day, or if there's something where you can't really bring them down the hall or they're refusing to move or anything, you'll have your walkie-talkies. He'll be able to call Mr. Kaz, and Mr. Kaz will come and he'll pick the students up and he'll kind of bring them here to go off. Our speech pathologist here on our campus is located here in the first room. So what she'll just pull any students that do have any speech impediment or just need help with vocabulary, phonics, things like that. She will pull them out at least once in 9 weeks. And so those students will get pulled. They'll receive services here based off of their plans. In the second door here too, we also have our 21st Century program. So that is our after-school program at school. And so this after-school program allows us to cater to our students who can't really get picked up on time, students who have to stay late, maybe parents work late or they're stuck in traffic. So this program allows them to stay until at least 5:30. And so what they'll do, it's just an enrichment program. They'll do different subjects. They'll get homework for their subjects. They'll have time to do homework. There's different lessons and lesson plans involved as well. So it kind of just keeps motivating those students to kind of do better, and it just pushes them a little bit more.
Okay.
Pause it. This is where Mrs. Flores, she's our nurse here on campus. Any students that you have that aren't feeling well, you just send them down to her, and next week she will be able to provide you her nurses passes. All you do is fill it out. The students bring their pass here. She go ahead and assesses them, checks their fever, and she checks all their vital signs. And if they are able to go back to class, what you'll do is you'll rip the top page off. You keep that for your records, and then she'll keep the rest of it. Down here, we also have our front office as well. So our front office, of course, this is where all of our parents come through. You can pause it. Our front office here. Of course, this is where our school secretary is located. So if you have any questions over dismissal, contacting parents, you can come here to the front office and ask, or you can just page down from your classroom. Any student who gets checked out needs to get checked out through the front office. So we're not allowed to just walk a student to the door because the parent messages that they're leaving.
Okay.
Pause. And then also as well, anytime that you have a parent conference or anything, we require that all our teachers come to the front office, pick the parent up, you walk them back to your classroom or wherever you're having your meeting at. And so what you do is, after you have finished speaking with them, we do require you also to walk them up into the front door and make sure that they've left the building. Because we have had issues in the past where some parents will leave and then they'll just wander the campus for a little bit before exiting the building.
Is there a place in the office that we can have a conference?
Yes, there is. There actually is a back room in the office that I'll show you in a bit. And so in that back room, you can sit down with the parents and speak to them there too if you don't want to have to walk all the way back to your classroom. All right, right here in front of you, we do have our gym. And so you can see we're already preparing for our, coming back to school activities. And like I said, we have our boys club that they're trying to initiate already tomorrow, which is even a week before school starts. So like I said, we try to build that enjoyment for learning, extracurricular activities, get our students just excited for learning, excited to be a part of our school. All right, and then right down here we do have our cafeteria. So every time that if you're responsible for bringing any students down to the cafeteria, we do ask that you come down this route. So our students will go through the cafeteria. They'll go through whichever line is free. And so after you've dropped them off, we do ask that you pick them up on the other side. So on the other side of the cafeteria, all your students will be lined up by the time lunch is over. And you can just pick them up, and we require that you also just continue down that side of the hallway. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Just no.
All right, awesome. So this is our conference room. Anytime that we actually call a meeting with you guys, we will ask to meet here. Okay, so this here is our conference room. So when you brought up the parents earlier, this is where you can bring them to kind of just discuss their students. And it is kind of just a more private setting. So you can, anytime that you want to, and it's free, you can feel free to bring some parents here. Anytime that we have any just smaller scale meetings with myself and our assistant principal, Ms. Chapman, we will meet in here. And so we do have our interactive panel up here as well that we can use. And so we'll plug that in, we'll do some presentations, and we'll just have you guys follow along. Okay? All right. Our teacher workroom, right behind these cubbies here. So any important mail that you get will be in these cubbies here. And then like I said, behind here we do have our teacher workroom. This is where you have your copy machine, a laminate. So like I said, back here behind the cubbies we do have our teacher's workroom. And so we have our copy machine, we have our cutter, shredder, we do have all kinds of colored paper here if you want to make any specialized copies. And so like I said, behind these cubbies here, there's your teacher workroom. We do have our copy machine here, so what you do have need to make your copies. So you can actually copy it on here, or you can actually send something down to the copier from your computer. We have our laminating machine, we have our paper cutter, we have all kinds of colored paper here too for any type of copying needs that you may need, and a refrigerator you need to store anything, and we also have a coffee machine in case you're a coffee person.
Do we have a code, or is we just print?
You do have a code, so once we get back into the rhythm of things, within the next week or two, I would say that you will be receiving your copy code. And so every time you copy, you need to type your code in. That way, you get a certain amount of copies each month. And so when you type your code in, it kind of just tells you how many copies you have left. And that way, you kind of just planning ahead. So if you're running low on copies, kind of just to cut back.
What about the paper? Do we supply that, or do you guys give us the paper?
Well, the paper is actually a part of the student supplies.
Oh.
However, each month you do get 2 reams of paper from us. And so hopefully that's enough to carry teachers over with all the supply that was brought with from students. Okay, so this actually here is our teacher's lounge. So whenever you come for lunch, it's right down the cafeteria aisle. So as soon as you're done eating, whenever you drop your kids off and you want to start eating, you can come down to Teacher's Lounge. We do have our Coke machines, we have our ice and water machines in there, and we just have tables for our teachers kind of just to lounge back and enjoy their 30-minute lunch. Right outside of these windows, this is where we do have our play area. We have our basketball courts. We have our giant open field where we have students playing, and we also have a soccer field located at the end of the playground.
Oh, do you have a soccer team?
We do have a soccer team actually, and so with the soccer team, we actually get students to try it out, and when students have tried out, we choose a certain amount of students to be on the team. Pause it. Okay, right here to my right, this is the art room. So anytime students have activity for the day that's art, they will come here. If you notice, we do have tape outside all of our activity classes because we want our students to be lineable. Of course, we have all type of procedures set in place for our students. To my left here, as you can tell by our Mickey ears, we do have our music room. So students who come to music, this is where they will come, and again, they do have tape to line up here as well. Pause. So right behind us here, we do have our teacher restrooms. So these are one of two. You probably saw the other ones as you walked into my office earlier. Sorry. And so you can rather come to these, or you can go down to those by the front office. We also have our science lab here. So Ms. Coleman runs our science lab here. So they do require, the district does require that 60% of our science activities be hands-on. So at least 2 days a week, students will come into the science lab and do an actual experiment. Red hallway, we actually have our 4th and 5th grade students. So all of our 4th and 5th grade teachers and students are housed down this hallway. You really probably won't be down this hallway too much since you're just working with K through 3rd, but of course it's important to know where they're located. Here to my left, we do have our library. Students go to the library at least once a week. If you need any type of resources, games, any other activities that you might need, you can always ask our librarian, Ms. Brow, and she has all kinds of things that you can check out. For example, I know some of the teachers last year used to love to check out board games that were over main idea, inferencing, drawing conclusions. So there's a lot more resources here than just books. Awesome. This side here is for our 2nd grade students. Right outside this door here, we do have our play area. So students are able to come outside and they'll be able to use the playground. We only ask that there are no more than 2 teachers at the playground each time. And of course, that's just for the safety of the students. And so this year, we're actually moving more to a structured recess. So we want teachers to have different games and activities that they're monitoring. We did have a few issues in the past with teachers who were just sitting down, and it was kind of their time to catch up. And I understand that, you know, after being stuck with kids in a room all day, you kind of want to talk to another adult. But we've had many type of behavior incidents happen. We've had fights, we have students get hurt, and when we go back and play the videos, we realize that the teachers were off talking in the corner while the students were playing. So with our structured recess, we do ask that all our teachers have games planned. They can have just sports games like soccer, basketball. They can use jump rope activities, whatever it is. But we do ask that it's more structured. It's not just let the kids go outside and play anymore just because of all the behavioral issues we've had in the past. Down here we also have our 2nd grade pod. So this is where a lot of activities will happen as well. So if in the morning when students get here, they actually line up here in the pod just so we have more space and we don't have students waiting inside a classroom. And for example, that's something else that we use it for intervention. We have our interventionists come in, they'll pull students, and this is kind of just their work area to be put aside. Okay, so this is our 1st grade pod. So as you notice, like the 2nd grade pod, we do have these larger open areas for our students to come and sit down in the mornings. And so what they'll do is we do have what's called a breakfast in the classroom, but we allow our students to get breakfast, but we line them up here, and they usually eat outside of the classroom. That when we go into the classroom, instruction starts automatically because, like I said, since we're so big on student achievement here, we don't want to waste any type of instructional time. Down the hallway here, we do have our kinder and 1st grade playground. So even though we have that playground on the west wing of the campus, we ask for our younger students to stay here. And again, that's just kind of for like the 2-teacher rule, where we don't want any type of incidents to happen because, you know, you don't really want to take a 1st grader or kindergarten class to play on the swing sets with 5th graders and 4th graders. So we do ask that they're split apart and are able to work together.
So you have a two-teacher rule. But doesn't the whole grade level go to lunch at the same time? How does that work?
So the way it works is that we usually have 2 teachers watch recess. And so while those 2 teachers watch recess, the other 2 will go have lunch.
Oh.
So whenever the students come in from recess, we'll have 2 teachers go into the cafeteria room, and there'll be lunch monitors, while the teachers who took their students out to recess go to have their lunch.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. So what did you think about the campus?
I loved it. I thought it was so, I think the grade levels are separated very well, so that there's not a lot of intermingling between like a kindergartner and maybe a 5th grader. But you did mention the after-school program, 21st Century. Do they intermingle there, or are they separated as well?
So the way the 21st Century program works, again, it's an outside program that comes to our campus. So 21st Century, we're just the host campus. So when they are in 21st Century, they're actually able to intermingle within all grade levels. So there will be students there who are kindergarten, there's students there who are 5th grade. So a lot of the time, let's take for example, Mr. Austin, last year, he would always bake waffles for the kids. So while he was baking, he was going through each of the steps. He would get the kids working, so it was kind of a hands-on activity. So there was 5th graders coaching first graders with 3rd graders, 4th graders. So it's more of a collaborative approach as the school, as a campus, versus just focusing on grade levels. Mm-hmm. But I do agree. So one of our biggest things is, we found we used to be separate. Actually, no, we used to be more together, 5th graders, 4th graders, 3rd graders, kindergartners. So what we did is we kind of just went back and we revised the pods. So like you said, it's a lot more organized. So whenever we did do that, our goal was to keep everybody apart pretty much. Just so that we could kind of just lower the incidents that were happening year round. We'd have 4th graders who were pushing kindergartners and so forth. So we've been able to pretty much eliminate that completely by separating grade levels. All right. So now that we're back here, I want to go ahead and just jump a little bit into our school data from this previous year. Because, again, I don't want you to forget the word data, because you're going to hear it over and over and over again this year. So like I said, we are big on student achievement. So if you look here, this was our school rating this year. So we did score a B. So we were at a scale score of 80, which is actually down from the previous year where we had actually scored 85. So right now I'm in the process of working with my assistant principal and my campus instructional coaches. As you can see there, we did make an 80, and so that is lower than the previous year. We actually had made an 85. So our goal is, so as you can see, it is an 80 that we did make this year. However, the previous year we were at 85. So right now I'm in the process of working with my campus instructional coaches. So as you can see, we did make an 80, like I just said. So our goal is to kind of jump back up, because the previous year we were at 85. So right now I'm in the process of working with my instructional coaches and my assistant principal, Ms. Chapman, to kind of figure out what the issue was. Because of course we always want to progress with our student achievement. So we're trying to figure out what was the deficit this past year that allowed us to go down, or made us go down. Now one of the main things too that we are trying to work on is student growth. We did make a 76 in this area, which would have put us at a C, and the previous year we were at 82. So that's one of the key components that we want to work for. So as you're working with K through 3rd, your goal really is to kind of just build the foundation, so for when they are in the upper grades, they are able to show growth. They are able to show jumps. And so again, you will be working with 3rd grade. So 3rd grade cannot really show growth because it's their first year testing. However, you want to make sure you build that strong foundation. That way, as they go further, they're able to just build upon what you've already, the knowledge you've already instilled them with in order to get them to that level. Do you have any questions based off of our data?
So have you already disaggregated all of the data?
Yes, it has been desegregated. So next week when we come back and all the teachers are on campus, what we're going to do is myself, Ms. Chapman, our assistant principal, and our instructional coaches, we're actually going to have a training that kind of breaks all of this down. Now, I don't want to have you have to do it twice, but I just kind of wanted you to kind of just see the framework of where we're at. And so right now, our goal for the future is to kind of go back and see why did we kind of digress in these areas and what we could do to get back to where we were at, and then once we reach that level, to excel and continue excelling from there.
So I see that you have distinction designations. If we have one that's earned.
Yes, we do have one that is earned, and so that one is for comprehensive growth. So that covers the entire domain two. So domain two is school progress, student growth, and so that's pretty much it. That's all that we have here. Do you have any questions or anything based off of the information presented?
No, that's fine.
Okay, and like I said, I know you do have a few questions over some of these areas, but next week we'll be diving a lot further into it, and our instructional coaches are going to be the ones kind of conducting and facilitating the meeting, and myself and Ms. Chapman will be there kind of just observing and just providing a little bit of feedback, but they'll be able to break everything down to you, and especially they're going to highlight our special education students. In our district, our special education students are performing at a lot lower level than at the state level. So that's something that we're really focusing on. So that's going to be a bigger emphasis on you with working with third grade, because we are trying to get those students to at least approaching, because that at least would cover passing for them. However, we're finding it difficult to even get students to the approaching level. And so this pretty much kind of just sums up everything we've done here. I did want to ask you though, if you had any questions, suggestions, any ideas that you kind of wanted to bring to our campus as a new year teacher.
Well, as a new year teacher, I don't really want to get too much on my plate. You know, the first few weeks I just try to get my feet wet, you know, get to know my students and see what resources we have on campus, and as well as the teacher and how I can help them. But I'm thinking maybe later on in the semester, what kind of after school programs do you offer for enrichment other than 21st century?
Oh, so other than 21st century, our school programs are the soccer team, as we spoke about earlier. We do have a dance team as well, and so what they'll do is they perform at pep rallies, they perform at any school events, fundraisers, and at the end of the year there's a big dance competition with all the elementary schools in the district, and so those students will compete there as well. We do have our art club as well, so our art club is responsible for just decorating, drawing. Anytime we have something going on, we go to the art club. If we need to paint a new banner for Grandparents' Day, we go to our art club, and and so they're pretty much just involved in all the art around campus. And they do actually enter competitions as well, where their art pieces are presented against other district members. And we have had students in the past who have been able to be recognized for their art. We do have the robotics club on campus too. So the science lab teacher, Ms. Coleman, that I spoke to you about earlier, she's actually in charge of the robotics club. And so what they'll do is, of course, they're building robots, and at the end of the year, they actually go to a competition where they face off against middle school and elementary students. And we're very proud that we scored third last year. So we were third place out of all the 16 schools that were there. So we're very proud of them for that. So we're looking forward to jumping up to second or first, hopefully this year. And we also have our choir. So our choir performs at fundraisers. They perform at school pep rallies. They perform at PTA shows. So you'll be seeing a lot of them, and that's with Miss Wilborn. I did show you the music room earlier. So she's the one who's responsible for our choir here on campus.
What about tutorials? Am I responsible for providing that service to students?
Yes, so you actually are responsible for providing tutorials to just your special education students. So we ask that you, once we get into our tutorial days, you will have 2 days. You will have one day where you service your SPED students for mathematics, and one day where you service your SPED students for reading. And so usually your tutorial is no more than 10 students, and so you'll be able to work with these students and kind of just provide that individualized support that they need.
Okay. So my last question, what are your expectations right now for me as a new teacher?
So for you as a new teacher, I kind of just want you to become acclimated with the school. And I want you just to kind of take a second to really learn the curriculum. Now you are over K through third, so that is a lot to kind of just take in at the beginning. But like I said, you will be working with your awesome mentor, and she'll be able to kind of just give you a lot more feedback. She'll be able to help you break down what are the essentials for each grade level. And so she actually was over K through third 2 years ago. And she did that for actually 5 years, so she has a lot of experience there. So I had actually spoke to her. She does have a binder full of resources and all the curriculum for kindergarten through third that she will be able to provide you. But for right now, I just want you to kind of get the feel for our school, get the feel for our student population, get a feel for our vision and mission statements, and just kind of get a feel for data here on campus, because our campus is so data driven. Like you said, you don't want too many things on your plate because you are new, but kind of, just get your feet wet this year. Kind of just dive into some more activities, after school activities. If there's any initiatives you might want to start in the second half, I would definitely recommend you maybe start in January, just to get your feet wet, and then next year, once you have the ball rolling, we'll completely have you involved in all the activities, and that way it's not so overwhelming all at once. Alright, and so if you don't have any further questions, I'm just really glad you came in today. I'm glad I was able to tour the school with you, and to just answer some of the questions you had. And most importantly, go over some data and show you the data room, of course, because that's some of the areas that you'll be spending a lot of time in.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for
All
your
right.
time.
Thank you for coming.
And I'll see you next week.
Okay, good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.